depressed? What are the trigger points? What do you do when your partner is going through depression? Today on Moans Cuddles, we delve into this difficult topic of depression and how it affects our relationships. I've assembled capable guests who have seen it all, who have done it all when it comes to this topic. We'll be right back after this break. Don't forget, this is Moans Cuddles here on Ghana Web TV. My name is Akosia Konedo also. Welcome back to Moans and Cuddles here on Ghana Web TV. So to help me do the discussion today, let me introduce them to you. Kobe is a psychiatric nurse. Kobe, welcome to Moans and Cuddles.
Thank you.
And joining me via Zoom, all the way from, where are you please?
I am in Florida.
Okay, all the way from Florida. Sensei Yao Tutu, Ananya sir.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, so Yao is a tantra therapist.
Tantra practitioner, therapist, teacher, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so welcome to Moans and Cuddles.
Oh, thank you.
So to start the discussion, Kobe, for those who do not know what depression is, can you explain it to us in a laywoman's term?
So, depression is one form of a person's mood and expression, or one form of a situation which affects a person's mood, a person's expression. It affects the person's ability to interact, and it virtually affects one's ability to be who he or she is. Because the person may be limited in interest with what he or she used to do. He does not enjoy the things he used to do. He has some sense of guilt. He has some worry about things generally, and sometimes they are anxious about virtually everything. There is some amount of fear in whatever they are doing, and because of this, it affects even the way they keep their appearance, the way they interact with people, the way they communicate. And because they've lost interest in what they used to do before, they are limited in even expressing themselves. They've lost energy, they've lost drive. So it's a combination of all these things where a person comes to the point of even having lost hope in everything. So it's not one simple language, because immediately you say it's just a matter of one being sad. It takes away the reality of the situation. Someone may be excited, but deep down, they are depressed. Someone may look okay and is talking, but deep down, they are depressed. So it's not simply a matter of being sad, but it's all these things coming together to fully define depression.
What causes all these changes in the human system that causes us to get into the level of depression?
To be clinically diagnosed as being depressed or to be in depression is when it's a persistent state that you're in, so a persistent state of sadness. For example, if for the past 12 days, 10 days, you're constantly sad, you don't want to do anything, you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want to eat, you can't sleep, you feel a low self-esteem, all these things. Now, it's been proven, or they say, that there are two causes of depression. There's the genetic, or that which you're predisposed to it, that's a 40%, and then you have a 60% where it's the environment and other factors. So, are you predisposed to it as a result of your genetics, i.e. your parents having been depressed, your ancestors having been depressed, so on and so forth? You have that 40%. And then you have that 60%, which has to do with what's happening in your environment. In other words, the food you're eating, the people you're associating with, the thoughts that you're thinking. You see, so when you combine those two things, then you could say you could have depression.
So, for for those of us in these parts of the world where there's poverty, we hustle so much.
Yeah.
How is depression all of a sudden becoming so common?
So when you look at it, I would take it from two different perspectives. I mean, we are now hearing more about it because we are putting mental health in figures. Because
okay.
previously, people die by suicide, and we find people having taken poison, having gone to drown themselves, having thrown themselves on the street, having hung themselves, and we just reported that this is what the person, what happened to the person. But now we are putting figures, we are putting numbers, and we are putting faces to mental health now. So we are getting to see also the reality that there is. Because previously, who cared about what mental health is? If the person died by suicide, I mean, sometimes if you even have thought or attempted suicide, you are criminalized. You have to be sentenced and all that. So now we are putting a face and figure to mental health, so we get to see the reality. That is one perspective. And the other aspect also is the socio-economic factors have become quite significant now also. That, like Yao mentioned earlier, you could be born and you are predisposed. I mean, we are all here exposed to some danger, but it would take an action for you to encounter an accident, and that is the trigger factors. So you may be pre-exposed or predisposed to depression. You may be born by a family where there's a history of depression. That your genetic makeup even is predisposing you to depression. But the environmental factors where you experience failure, you experience job loss, you have financial difficulty, and there is relationship issues, there is broken families, there is failure in examination, and there is even disappointment by friends because you had high hopes, high expectation, but then you are fought with this challenge where the marriage you expected to work didn't. There you are fought with where the exams you thought could make you the best person in the community. So these things, I mean, where we are now putting faces and figures, and the fact that the socio-economic situation are becoming quite dire, and people being disappointed is becoming the order of the day. People failing at one or two things because probably they didn't prepare well for the failure. And also is the use of drugs. Because now we know that if we were able to address the use of drugs in adolescents, or we're able to recognize issues of mental health in adolescents, there are chances that we may not even be seeing 50% of adolescents becoming mentally ill or developing any form of depression. Because if you're able to see it early and you solve it early and give them that ability to cope with any unforeseen situations, they will be able to deal with it. It's like providing a shock absorber to a car. Urbanization have taken away parenting, that we leave children to be on their own, and we are having high hopes for children even though we are not there for them. When they hit into that pothole, all what they rely on is friends who may even introduce them to drugs or may not actually be there for them to provide the adequate psychosocial support at the time.
If you are being chased by a lion, do you have time to be depressed?
No.
So our environment has changed, you see, and therefore we become susceptible to certain things. For example, if you're busy trying to put food on the table, you may be depressed and not even know it, but we can't diagnose you as depressed because you are functioning. You see, now we are in a totally different paradigm whereby people are not outside farming because the sun helps drive away depression. It's been scientifically proven that people who live in colder regions or regions where it's mainly cloudy have a high incidence of depression than those who live in sunnier areas.
Which will go into when we come back from this break. You are here with us, don't forget, on Moans and Cuddles on Ghana Web TV. We are talking about depression and how it affects the stability of our relationship. I'm doing this with Kobe Blay, and Yao, who is far away in Florida. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to Moans and Cuddles here on Ghana Web TV. We are talking about depression and how it affects the stability of our relationships. Let's get deeper into the conversation. Kobe, yeah, how will you know you are depressed?
Now, I don't think anybody who is actually depressed will know that they're depressed.
Okay.
Because take an alcoholic. An alcoholic does not know they're an alcoholic. It's other people around them that notice the symptoms. So usually a depressed person does not know they're depressed.
Absolutely, you are right. You cannot even realize you are drowning when you are in depression. But one thing you could see when you are getting close to the water before you drown, that this is water.
Yeah.
All right, and there are possibilities of drowning because you don't know how to swim. Okay, so I'm looking at, so there are quite some stages to even being depressed. There is the minor and there is a major. There is where a person has a mild, there's where a person goes to moderate, and there is where the person gets to severe. You realize when you have lost something. You realize when you have failed at something. You realize when something is becoming challenging for you to handle. You realize these things, but you're unable to see the impact it has on you because at that point you may have lost touch with some reality.
So in this case, yeah, how are you, the partner, able to tell if your spouse is going through?
Well, there are some behaviors that in combination we tend to think it indicates a direction of depression. For example, if the person is easily and constantly irritable, or if the smallest thing they want to cry, even though it's something that they shouldn't be crying over, they want to cry, or if they are irritable or very restless, or they are a social butterfly, then all of a sudden they want to be isolating for a lengthy period of time. These are signs, and combining them together will give you an idea that, oh, this person may be getting into depression, so maybe I should watch out, or maybe we need to talk more. Because one of the things that we use for depressed people is talk therapy, because they need to get out what is inside them that is bothering them. So if you combine these things with what I just said, which is the irritability, the constant crying, the restlessness, the social isolation, all of these, then you begin to realize, okay, maybe there's a problem, so I need to talk to this person. And then if you start talking to your partner, and your partner is like, I'm always anxious. I don't feel like I want to be alive anymore. I feel guilty, or I'm hopeless, or I don't want to have sex with you anymore. Or there's quick mood swings and there's sadness. Then you're like, oh, there might be a problem. Is it okay if we seek professional help? You know, then you start going in that direction. So these are telltale signs.
How difficult is it for people to really understand what people who go through depression go through?
There have been more cases that we have seen where partners had issues in relation to sex. This one is not ready, that one is ready, and this one is not ready to give in because the interest is gone. And there was one critical one that even the lady, I mean, to the point that she wasn't having orgasms because the interest is gone. She has to just lay down for sex to happen. And when the therapy went through and all that, now she comes there and say, "We drone it there, yeah, Juma, see how the orgasm are banned to us." So,
Oh my lord.
and you see, the ripple effect is great, and y'all knows this, that when the woman is able to have the orgasm, and your viewers would agree, most of the guys, that when the woman gets an orgasm, you the man also has fulfillment.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
well, I've been able to achieve. So you see that the depression, which was supposed to travel from the woman to the man, not spiritual, not anything,
Yeah.
because the man could have felt that I'm also not capable of doing this amidst the financial challenge he's not able to give to the family and all that, failures and job losses. Now, when it gets solved, there's a ripple effect happening. Unfortunately, it is very, very difficult to identify some of these things when it's happening, especially when living as partners. You are daily fought with some small, small skirmishes and challenges, and you think that your partner is overreacting or she's just being lazy, like being mentioned.
Yeah.
So you find out that the man begins to drink alcohol to cover his shame. The woman also begins to talk a lot. If it's not, sometimes they withdraw. They are talking a lot with friends and family. They are telling them virtually everything. And one of the things we are missing with this, when it comes to relationship aspects, when you have children, and children are developing depression, also it may be identified through their performance at school. So if you realize that your child also is having issues with their performance in school, you need to check it. It could be field work or class work. It could be that the child is developing some issue related to depression. But then it's very difficult. But then that place should have been easier, because you live with each other and you realize what is missing, what the person is doing or what the person has become. That the person, your partner now fails to go to work on time. The personal hygiene has been neglected for some time. Home care and all that, family union and being able to talk and do stuff together, it's now missing. Daddy doesn't want to play with kids any longer. I have come to admit also that it is difficult for you to see your partner and say, oh, you may be having depression. It's difficult to admit or accept it. That no, because sometimes of the stigma out there. So you don't want to associate yourself or your partner or any of a family member to the disease, because immediately it happens like that. Depression is a mental ill health. So you are afraid stigma may be setting in and may be attached to your family. So you don't want to accept that no, this is not it. We'll go to a spiritual home. We are jump by ball and all that. Oh, you leave him. Oh no, I say not. Obey fine. Yeah, that's the thing. So these are some of the challenges, and some of the things are really, you can't put a finger on it. Why people choose to neglect each other.
What do you think? Why
at
do you
that
think
point.
people choose to neglect each other in such a difficult situation?
Unfortunately, in life, we do what is called reflection.
Mm.
So if you don't want to talk to me, me too, I won't talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what happens a lot of the time. Instead of trying to dig into why is this occurring? Why doesn't the person want to talk? Why does the person have a lack of interest in cooking? Why does the person not want to go out? Instead of sitting down and having that conversation, we decide, okay, I am jumping to this conclusion. Like, for example, I get home. Now, for a number of days, I can see that my wife has lost appetite. She doesn't want to cook that much. The house is dirty. This is not normally her. Instead of finding out, I jumped to the conclusion that she started seeing some new guy and she doesn't like me. So you get what I'm saying? And so I behave like, if she doesn't want me, then why should I be around? You know? And so it snowballs. Instead of taking the time to sit down with her and find out, Papa, what's happening? What's going on? What's causing this? You know? Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you, but I've heard stories about people who are going through depression and rather have a high sexual drive. How does that happen?
There is possibility in depression that while some have loss of appetite for food,
Others
some
rather eat a lot.
overeat. But then again, it's we, we must also be careful. There are some mood disorder, and depression is a mood disorder. Some other mood disorders in which, when the person is at that crisis point, they have that energy and want to do more of everything.
Wow.
And
Okay.
in depression, there is that possibility. I mean, I have clinically seen or dealt with patients who have that extra urge for food and eating until you get them to control their portions of food. So there should be that group of people that would want
But
to,
it's not
but
like a
then
movement.
again, it's not that they really enjoy
Enjoy
it,
it. Okay.
but they might be involved in it the more.
When we come back here, I want you to tell us how tantra, how meditation helps couples to heal from depression. Don't forget you are here with us on Moans and Cuddles on Ghana Web TV. My name is Akosia Konedu Owusu. I am here with Kobe and Yao, and we are talking about depression and how it affects the stability of our relationship. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to Moans and Cuddles here on Ghana Web TV. We are discussing depression and how it affects the stability of our relationship. And my next question is to you, Yao. You are a tantra teacher. What is tantra, and how does tantra and meditation help couple, in the process of healing?
The way Tantra helps people who are going through depression is to bring them to the now.
Okay.
You see, because if you are thinking about yesterday or the future, then anxiety can set in. So when you are going through situations like depression, if your partner can sit with you so that you can focus on each other, so that you can communicate, then you see you've changed your state. Because let's say, for example, I'm crying and you come and hold my hands. There are two things that will happen. Either I will continue to cry or I will stop. You see, if I'm sad and you come and sit with me and you listen to what I am saying, I will talk and eventually stop, or I will say I don't want to talk. You see, but that is where Tantra is able to be effective in relationships by bridging that communication gap as a result of the exercises that you can do.
So what are these exercises?
Now, one of the simplest exercises is, like I said, sitting in front of your partner, holding their hands, looking into their eyes, and just breathing together. Or your partner sitting on your lap or you sitting on theirs and just holding each other. That's a very simple exercise, very simple practice, but very profound, because it doesn't involve any words. It just involves getting in touch with how you're feeling. And it makes you present, because as you're holding another person and you are listening to them breathe in and out, your mind can't go towards the exam that you failed or the job that you lost. You are present. And therefore, everything else becomes irrelevant. You see, now such practices can lead further into other things, especially the sitting on your partner's lap or your partner sitting on yours. You see, but you have to take care of the internal causes of it, because if the person is deep into depression, then they may not even feel like talking to you. They may not feel like touching you. So that is when antidepressants come in. And that's why if you think somebody is depressed, go and have them clinically diagnosed so that the medication that can help get them out of it, because it doesn't mean that they're going to take the medication forever. You know, they may need it for a short period of time so that it changes their internal chemistry, and therefore they can lift themselves out of it. You see. Now, you mentioned how can meditation help, and I wanted to laugh because meditation can either help or make it worse. Why do I say that? Because if you are self-isolating, then meditation can further isolate you and make you commit suicide. You see? So it depends on the type of meditation and who is doing it. Yeah.
Enlighten me. So what kind of meditation can somebody do so that their minds will not rather take them to, you know, a level where they would want to commit suicide?
Active meditation
Okay.
can do that. For example, Tai Chi. You see, Tai Chi can take you out of depression. Why? Because you are present with yourself, with your movements, with your breathing. If you do Wu Ji, which is a movement which is basically kind of like Tai Chi, but it's a walking, because as you're moving your hand, if you are actually paying attention to your hand, then you can focus on something else that will make you feel depressed. If as you're moving your hand, you are breathing in. Now I am combining two things. I'm breathing in and moving my hand. If I'm moving my hand and I'm looking at it, I'm combining the visual as well as the breathing, as well as the actual tactile movement. So I'm combining all my senses so that I am present. You see, so such types of meditation can get you out of it. Breathing exercises can always change your state. Now, for example, if you do breath of fire, which is a quick breath in and a quick breath out, that will definitely change your state because it energizes your physical body.
Can you do something quickly for me to see what the breath
Breath of fire is basically you are breathing abdominally, but quickly. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a pant, but it's quick. And you'll be surprised that even 30 seconds of that will change your brain chemistry.
At what point do you call it quit with a partner without feeling like you are abandoning them?
There is no point in quitting. You definitely have to be there. You definitely have to fill in somewhere. You definitely have to let the woman understand that you are still going to be there for her even when she comes out of this, because sometimes you becoming the coming out of this takes some time. It's easier for women to recover from depression than men.
Wow.
Yes, when a woman recovers, she actually fully recovers. For men, it may take some time because a woman may be open, but men usually try to keep it to themselves and try to be a man, because we used to say that two is mabo. Now one for what life again have you got? So a two is be able. Yes, we should all save it together. And there is no point to quit. It's very difficult to be there for someone going through mental ill health. It's difficult. I mean, there are some times that this person who is going through the crisis could even hurt you, could attack you, could slap you. And you know that it takes, it could take a long time to treat people of mental health conditions. So you are spending money, you have to go to the clinic every day. There is no enough psychiatrists around. The hospital condition is not good to support, and you have to keep your relative at home and be doing all this for them. So it is actually a worse situation trying to be there for someone go through it. But it will amaze you, that is the only pill your partner may need together with the other pills to really get out of it, because she realizes or he realizes that whatever the situation, I have someone to be there. Aside the medications that will be given, someone has to encourage you to even take your medications. There are points that you take medication, you have side effects. Someone has to be there and say that, no, no problem. I mean, we'll be there. So there is no point in quitting.
Yeah.
There is no time to quit. You just have to be there, because remember, as you do this, it may be done for you. So there's no point in quitting. But when you realize that you helping the person, your strength is wailing, then obviously you need to seek for help.
You'll agree with Kobe, won't you?
Oh, exactly what Kobe was saying. Never quit, never surrender. But you have to know your strength. And if your strength is waning, you got to seek help. But the key is knowing your strength, you know, because if somebody's in a hole, you can't help them out of the hole if you jump in. Somebody's got to be up to lend a hand or to put down the ladder. So you've got to know where your strength is, and you've got to keep monitoring it, you know. And I think the best is to find somebody or a therapist that you can talk to while you're going through. Because while you're going through this, you're going to be having emotional breakdowns, because you're human. And so it's definitely going to be affecting you one way or another. So you can't bottle it up, you know? And so it's best. And the reason why I say find a therapist is because friends will not always give you the best advice. Sorry to say. But people who are impartial can give you the best advice. But people who have something to gain, or it's possible the person didn't even want you being with your wife or husband or whatever. So, then you're talking to them, and but if you find somebody who has nothing to gain from whether you stay with your husband or you don't, then they can listen to what you're going through, and they can give you the advice that you need.
And talking about therapists, I mean, these days we have even looking at the challenges with human resources, we have beefed up the numbers in therapists and how they are able to help. So if you're able to chance on in some of these health facilities, you find a psychologist who is available. You find a psychiatrist who is available. You find a mental health nurse who is available. And I will encourage everyone that immediately you identify one or two issues with your partner or something, do not hesitate. Our duty, our professional mandate is to help and be confidential as much as possible with your information.
Thank you, guys. I mean, I think we need more time to, you know, keep talking about this subject, because it's really, really sensitive. It's really close to home. My name is Akosia Konedu Owusu. I did this today with Kobe Blay. Kobe is a psychiatric nurse, and Yao joined us on Zoom from his hideout in Florida. Thank you, Yao, for joining us. I know I've taken so much of your time. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for watching. We'll come your way another time on Moans Cuddles here on Ghana Web TV.